Welcome to Brevity Box, episode 6. 6 episodes. We're doing pretty good. Thanks everybody for, or every person, maybe one person, listener. We should just call them listener. Welcome back to the show. We're recording this on November 29th, a couple days after Thanksgiving and after a good day of football. Brando, what's up, man? How you doing?
Doing all right.
Had a good
Still a little
day?
full from Thanksgiving, but I'm doing all right.
Nursing leftovers?
I got some grilled turkey leftovers in the fridge. Yeah.
I had a moment of pure excitement. My sister bequeathed upon me my first turducken, and I gotta say, a little bit gimmicky. I'm not a big huge fan of duck, but it was just really good, man. I had a lot of moments of new food, turducken, and still cooked in that old way that you remember us doing it in the roaster with
Yeah.
the maple base and the vegetables and whatnot. And Brooke went, my wife went out of her way to make a new type of cheesecake, and it was a maple pecan topped uh, snickerdoodle. Was it snickerdoodle crust? Like the crust on the bottom was smashed. Uh, it was unbelievably decadent, probably horrible for you. I'm sure I have diabetes now. And also made cran apple, the classics, and apple. I'm still trying to get through all of the food, but it was good. I mean, it was a good Thanksgiving. Did you get to spend it with anybody, or did you isolate?
Well, the nice thing is I actually got some blood work done on Thanksgiving week, so I knew that I was actually out of the pre-diabetic range I was in last year, so I could
Hey,
afford to go a little crazy on Thanksgiving. Um,
nice.
I just had a very low key dinner with my dad and stepmom, just the three of us. That's it.
Well done, man. It's probably the way to go. We had some other stuff we were getting into. We had some family that was in and out of the hospital there. Everything worked out great. So by the time Thanksgiving happened, it was just Brooke and I, but it was a nice, comfortable day. And I ended up taking a truckload of food to my parents, and they got to share in some of it. But maybe it was, looking at everything, it was good to have a day where we could just enjoy and not have to think about much. We're kind of way past election debacle at this point. Um, there's still some kicking and screaming, temper tantrums coming from up top, of course. And what's the score now? 35-1 is where it's going, and that one's really sort of a procedural case
Yep.
for those of you who are following. But still dealing with COVID, still dealing with spikes because
People are idiots.
Americans are. Yeah. Well, they don't want to listen, right? I tell you one thing that stuck out to me was interesting is I forgot where I read this headline, so excuse me if I get it wrong. But what hit me was I see either a nurse or head of nurses organization was saying that 60% of nursing staff in the country have not been regularly tested for COVID. But, we're kind of in a time where every football player is getting tested multiple times a week.
Yeah,
It's
it's ridiculous.
things are kind of backwards. I don't, without getting into those, upsetting things about the average person being misled about what's true, what's not true, and people not taking the opportunity to isolate or really understand how this thing works. And I'm certainly not going to go through out of it here, but look it up. I think we said it before. Wear the mask, keep the hospitals from getting overwhelmed. I think that's the one thing you hear all around the country right now is hospitals here, hospitals there. El Paso, Wisconsin, those places are getting overwhelmed with patients. And for like what you're saying, people either don't wear a mask or won't wear it regularly, and
Or
I think
wear
they're
a chin diaper.
chin diaper. Thank you, South Park.
I have actually stopped confronting people about that so I don't catch a beating or a bullet.
Yeah, it's hard.
It really is. It really
I don't
is.
know how to really. address that. I think I've said a couple of snide comments when I've been admittedly snide. You know, if I was in a grocery line and the guy in front of me was lecturing the cashier for wearing a mask and being quite belligerent. And then in the middle of what he was talking about, I just kind of said, "Yeah, world is flat, right, buddy?" And he didn't quite get the joke when I said it initially, but she did, and he was not happy about us giggling at his expense. So I kind of take your point. I think after that, I decided I wouldn't say much. I just kind of go in, do my business, and get out. You know.
Dude, I had to go to Fry's the day before Thanksgiving to get some groceries. I made the mashed potatoes for the meal. Shout out to Instant Pot. Um, and I thought I was going to have a real minor panic attack because of one, just too many damn people in the grocery store the day before Thanksgiving. So, and yes, procrastinating it was my own fault, but just so many people improperly wearing masks. If you're going to have like your nose and your upper lip flopping out of it, what's the point? There is no point. It's not
I
doing
think it
anybody
would
any
be
favors.
how would I don't envy the I mean I feel like store managers or people should have the ability to say something, but the tension and the climate about it, I mean, you're just inviting a problem, I think,
Yep.
which is really tough. You know, I think what we got 1 month left in this awkward, weird roller coaster year, and then I think
Wasn't this supposed to magically disappear after election day? Who said that?
somebody.
Yeah.
How many people did you hear say that? I've heard a lot of people. You won't hear about it anymore after November 4th. I don't know.
That's
Now
funny
it's
because I think the person that said that currently has coronavirus.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's kind of going hand in hand now. It's so rampant that it's hard. You know, it's difficult. It's difficult to assess how to tell people or help people. But ultimately, I just don't want people getting sick. I don't want nursing staffs getting overwhelmed, and I really think we can do it. You know, it's pretty simple. Not a lot to ask. You know, I feel like we put on our seatbelts. We go through TSA. That's something that got me. Was like we're willing to take our shoes off and put our stuff through a scanner and go through all this trouble as a community, but we're not willing to put a piece of fabric in front of our face.
Oh, but I can't breathe when I put the mask on. It fogs my glasses.
I don't talk to anybody that's telling me that, but it sounds really convincing. No, it got in my head. You know,
Putting
I
on
was
a
thinking about
mask gives you hypoxia. Well, wow. How do those surgeons do it for multiple hours at a time then?
well, and for me, that's what it's about. I said it before. My wife is a medical care professional, and I think that it's really sort of in solidarity not only with them, but one of the great point that I was hearing about was out of El Paso. You have National Guard there, and they are under orders to wear their PPE, every single one of them. And they're dealing with this on multiple levels because El Paso's overwhelmed. And the same thing you've seen out of New York and whatnot. Depressing story, sure. But there's sort of like this disconnect for me where a lot of the same people who are willing to put a yellow ribbon on their lapel and show respect to that, I feel like the messaging, if it were about the military, they'd be like, "Oh, I want to show respect to the people that are in the military," and you should, you should show respect to the nursing staff, doctors, medical professionals, people in National Guard. It stood out to me, and I think it has to be acknowledged. It made me grateful for Thanksgiving in a totally different way than I had expected. Just to have a day where I was really starting to kind of count my blessings, grateful for what's going on with this and grateful for having my family healthy. It really kind of makes you focus on your close group of friends, and for those of us who are sort of trying to come up with a way to understand the country, it gave me a little bit of perspective to have everybody on the same page, right? Like, I know there was a lot of people at the grocery store were not wearing masks, but we were all there ready to celebrate Thanksgiving. And I really think there's a lot of people, whether they agreed with the way the election went or not, that are sort of tired and ready for it to be uh about holidays and about being, they still want to be part of the team, you know? And it kind of got me thinking about something I wanted to pick your brain about. Old show, love the show, the A Team. Great, easy. Do you think all four of those guys vote the same way if they
God,
were
you're
real
old.
people? No, look, use the movie. But look, you got Hannibal, Face, BA, and Murdoch. If you don't know these characters, you should look them up. But Hannibal is, aged, wily, veteran guy with the plan. Face is sort of your good-looking James Bond, suave spy character. BA, African American, muscle, tough,
Mr. T.
Mr. T. It says it all. And then Murdoch, your crazy conspiracy theory, wacky schizo, don't know what to expect, unpredictable. And I kind of thought about your analogy before about King of the Hill, another show I love,
Mm-hmm.
Brando, where you said Hank is Republicans from the 90s and Dale Gribble is Republicans now. And I feel like that same thing can fit with Hannibal and Murdoch, right? You got
Yeah.
Hannibal, who's old school, sort of conservative Republican guy with a plan, loves when the plan comes together. And Murdoch is off the deep end on the other side. He is QAnon all the way in for Trump. And it just kind of
Oh, the
hit me.
damn globalists.
Well, it's a right. It's a funny metaphor to me because here's a show that really captures that, right? You got four guys who I guarantee you didn't vote the same way if they were real people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that kind of made me laugh because it does feel like if I'm trying to stitch something together to bring everybody into perspective, I mean, we're still they're still our countrymen, right? We still need them to get in the damn van and like work together to get what we want accomplished done. And it stood out. I couldn't shake it when I started thinking about that because I thought it was pretty fitting. That Murdoch and would definitely, we know who he's voting for. We kind of know who BA is going to vote for. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Hannibal, torn, right? But it just feels like that's a good metaphor for the country.
Yeah.
At least that's
Yeah. I'd
for
agree with
me.
that.
It just kind of, it made me laugh. It made me think about that. It made me think about reboots in general. But I think I'm just reaching for a way to think of all of us as being on the same squad. That we kind of, I'd rather start finding the reasons why we need each other, why we're better off together. Those guys didn't agree. It is a show, it's fiction, but I think that's not something you hear enough about right now, right?
Do you think when the A Team disagreed, they called each other commies?
Maybe. I think Murdoch probably did. I don't know if Hannibal did, but I could they I mean there were shows and episodes and even in the movie that's represented by them getting at each other's throats, right? And I think that's going to happen in any family. But they still sort of get pulled together by Hannibal, and I think it's I'm ready to hear more of that. Biden's pre-Thanksgiving message to me was kind of along that line, and I was weirdly grateful for that tone being injected into the public, into the zeitgeist, if we're going to use that word, but into the atmosphere of America right now. That we need each other and need to tone down the separation and the aggression towards each other, and I think slowly, what it's interesting to see these court cases just start to drop and fail, and I don't know.
Failed horribly.
Yeah, badly.
And
Badly.
man, and they did have one win. People were allowed to move like 4 feet closer. So we must give credit where credit is due. They're like 1 in 36.
And I gotta say, for political comedy, I was really happy to see the the meme I sent you with Gary Oldman from The Fifth Element with the evil goo coming down his head, and then the picture of Giuliani with his hair dye coming down. We know there's an evil comet somewhere in the galaxy, and you answered it perfectly. We do have an evil comet, an orange one, and it's headed out of the solar
Hey,
system.
you didn't actually respond to the picture I sent back to you with Giuliani.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I should have, but we'll have to post something about that somewhere. It was that and this tiny desk. I thought the tiny desk was all I could think of was what South Park is going to do with it.
Hang on a sec, because I saw pictures of the tiny desk. Was that from Camp David?
I thought it looked like it was from the White House.
I mean, there's going to be nice looking places at Camp David, but I mean, it it just yeah, that desk was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it made me laugh. It made me laugh. But we're on an upswing, right? I mean, at least in my opinion, it feels like things are starting to settle down. I feel like I'm starting to get used to not hearing so much political banter. I feel like I got room to enjoy the holidays and or at least holiday and just sort of take a break from it all. There isn't as much noise. And as the day goes, each day goes by, there's less and less. And with a month left in the year, I'm just excited. I'm excited for it to be make politics boring again. I don't want to hear so much volume to it anymore. And I don't think anybody else does either. I think we're all tired of it.
As long as we don't get dragged into this new crap between Iran and likely Israel, yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah, that's a level of political reach that we should have a whole nother show for
I
to
don't
definitely
even
talk
know
about.
enough about that whole thing to really get into it, to be honest with you. I
That's
just know that
probably a good
several
thing.
articles I saw about it linked it to possibly Mossad.
Yeah, probably. But I don't know. I think the world is dealing with COVID. I think I'm sort of upset. I think I'm glad that everybody's sort of focusing on that. Kind of as I mentioned before, with as many sports teams and testing, you still see. I mean, today my favorite team played. The Saints played the Broncos, and I I felt bad. I mean, I felt
I
bad for
saw
that
on the news
team,
this
man.
morning. That's hilarious.
It was sad. It was a rough game to watch because if you don't follow sports, uh, Denver's quarterbacks usually you have a starter and a second string, and sometimes a third string. And one of their quarterbacks basically weren't following proper
They
protocol. They
didn't
weren't
follow
wearing the
proto.
masks, right? And I'm not shaming those guys. I'm just saying they didn't do it. One of them tested positive for COVID. The other two are in the quarterback room. They're in close proximity. So now you have a team that doesn't have a starting quarterback and they have to field a team. They have to play the game. There is no rescheduling it. I feel like maybe there should have been rescheduling,
There should have been a
but
reschedule for that.
and kudos to who they put out there. A very like a third string wide receiver named Hinton, who I mean, you just had to. I envy the guy's heart to go out there and do what he could, the best he could. It was tough. I mean, he just got brutalized, and there were three interceptions, and I mean, obviously the Saints came away at the win, but this is where we're at. I will say, I have to mention though, kind of to the point that what we're talking about, and we've talked about sports in this context before, but I believe Fangio is the GM or the owner there, and his quotes after the game just specifically saying that he was disappointed that his guys weren't following the recommendation to wear masks, and that was the biggest problem that he had. I felt like was good leadership, just to acknowledge that directly, that he wasn't whining about rescheduling the game. He wasn't talking about it another way. Again, he was just saying, simple thing. We asked them to do it as team members, and they disregarded it. They disregarded the league they're in, the team they get paid by, and the protocols that are set up because they're examples. And they didn't do it, and it cost their team a really embarrassing outing. Which I'll take the win for the Saints, no problem. But it was still, I've never watched in my entire life a game, any game, much less a game with my team, that I felt bad for the other team. I felt bad for their quarterback and their situation. I mean, that was just a morale killing situation. But I mean, I hope it. You could only hope that it would lead to more people paying attention and doing what's right.
Yeah, I mean, from what so what you're saying is the GM or owner came out and gave a honest explanation about what happened and didn't play the victim and didn't make it all about himself.
That's right.
Isn't
Yeah.
it weird how refreshing that is?
It is totally weird, totally refreshing, and probably where I'll cap it off with sports. I won't go through anything else on big details on sports. I just thought the way that the world outside of sports and the world inside of sports is intertwined, especially in 2020 in the year of COVID and kind of some of the stuff we brought out before. I mean, even if it's just you looking at it as your job and your employer and XYZ, or whether you have some slant on what you think is going on, I like that it was acknowledged up front. I really do.
Before we move on from sports, I do have one question for you.
Sure.
Do you have any idea what happened between? I can't believe I get to ask this question again. It feels like the 90s. Do you know what happened in the Mike Tyson fight last night?
I only read about it, man. I only read about it, and anything I read about the results being a draw really was overshadowed by Mike Tyson's like blunt pun intended admitting that he that he smoked pot before the fight, and that's just who he is. That's Mike Tyson taking a great opportunity to promote his weed company because he
knew exactly what he was doing.
He knew exactly what he was doing. He's getting a platform for his business.
Dude, could you imagine getting high with Iron Mike?
Oh man, the stories. Just for anybody listening, if you haven't had the chance, he did an HBO special not so long ago that is priceless, funny, entertaining.
Like that one man show thing, right?
Yeah, that was fantastic. But you got to watch it. And yeah, smoking a blunt with Mike Tyson would be a whole nother world of entertainment. But that's here or there. Today we got somebody who was with us on episode 1. We brought him back. We're going to get him into the conversation, get him to talk about getting high with Mike Tyson. No, really, we're going to get him in, just see how his Thanksgiving was.
Would you rather get high with, Mike Tyson or Snoop Dogg?
If I had to choose,
we found the perfect segue for you, man.
Between Snoop and Mike Tyson, I don't think that there's any kind of debate there at all. It would have to be Snoop. I mean,
yeah,
it would have to be.
If I had to choose,
it would be Snoop.
I think I agree. It's close.
Less likely to get knocked out by Snoop. At least it will be one of his bodyguards. It won't be the guy directly.
No, look. You don't have to worry about getting knocked out by Mike Tyson. We're mortals, okay? If he throws a punch at one of us, we're just dead. It's lights out.
It's going to be the Hangover. It's just going to be face like a piece of meat on the ground, just slap, and I'm out for days.
So how much would it take to get you in the ring with Tyson or someone else, someone of that caliber? How much money? And you had to actually go through with it. You had to actually fight.
Let's figure this out. How long do I have to last?
It's not about how long you have to last. You just actually have to be in there. You actually have to go toe to toe and at least try to exchange. You can't just throw the match. You just got to be in there. Fight. You got to actually give it a shot and fight and take some hits. How much?
1 million tax free.
Wow. I need
pricey.
I would want at least 5 million and
medical bills covered.
Yes, medical bills covered, 5 million and a lifetime supply of Tyson's best new product. That's what then I'm good. Maybe he can name a strain after me.
Medical covered and I would do it for cheap, man. I'm easy. Like $500K, I would do it just for the talk show circuit alone. I'm sure I could make the rest of that back.
Sure. No, you're probably right.
Yeah, but I would go cheap.
the pain. I'm just thinking 500 G's, you're going to come out of your short-term coma thinking you should have gotten more.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I can imagine the pain.
Oh my God. Oh.
How was your Thanksgiving, Mitch?
Hey man, it was pretty solid. Thanks for having me back, man. I really appreciate it.
Welcome back.
I'm excited to be here. My Thanksgiving, it was pretty uneventful. I mean, like a lot of folks, just kind of sticking to the house, and we cooked up a little bit of food. We did completely coat the inside of the oven in exploded pecan pie. Natalie made a pecan pie from scratch, and we didn't put a pan underneath it.
Oh,
and
no.
It boiled over and coated the entire bottom of the oven, but we cleaned it up and then baked our pumpkin pie. So it was good. It was fun.
Pies are a big deal for Brooke too. She was gonna. I thought she was gonna make a pecan. When she said she was making a pie with pecan, I assumed pecan pie.
Yeah.
But what she made was that maple pecan topped cheesecake.
That sounded ridiculous. As you were talking about that, I was just salivating. My entire mouth just filled with saliva. I love cheesecake, and pecans are my favorite. I'm sure that was delicious.
Oh man, the first bite, the first words that came through my head were, "It's okay to be fat. Just go ahead. Just lean into this pie." And we're definitely not. We don't have a lot of shame. It's seriously. There's a fork in there. In the fridge,
man,
in the pie dish.
I think you just went to a new level of respect for me.
You just don't have time to go to the drawer and get a new utensil, right? Why waste of time? Well, and I think all of us in doing this right now, a lot of us still have day jobs, and without getting in too much detail, you're kind of on the front lines of the horror.
Oh, you poor bastard.
It is. I appreciate that.
Thanksgiving holiday, Black Friday, Christmas holiday. This is your war zone right now. I mean, with everything, I got so many questions about this.
Yeah.
I mean, how does it affect you can go in whichever levels, because I'm sure there's a lot to say here. Are people different? Are the COVID restrictions something that you see causing a more stress, and you're in a situation where there's all kinds of new product out there that people are vying and fighting for?
Yeah,
it's like, how do you are you okay?
I'm
are
good.
You go straight to, like, how many fifths have you gone through? Is Jack your best friend?
Well, I'm doing well, man. Thank you so much for caring. But I gotta just backtrack a little bit there and say that it's not a war zone, and I wouldn't be doing this as long as I have, and I wouldn't be if I didn't enjoy it to a degree. I like the fast-paced nature. I love this time of year because the way I generally look at it, the way that I maybe have survived and lied to myself to make through the season is.
I'll do yourself. No, man.
is look, man, like, people are out there, and for the most part, not all, but for the most part, they're out there buying gifts for one another. They're buying something to take home and put underneath that tree or that menorah or whatever it is that they're doing, and they're trying to, they're doing this for family or loved ones, or to whatever that is, whatever their cause. A good portion of them have something good at heart, and
trying to bring joy.
Yeah, they're trying to bring joy. So if I didn't look at it like that, I'm sure it would be a lot harder, but I have a blast. It's fun. It is stressful. It is exhausting, but man, it's a good time. And when you show up in the morning to your retail establishment, and there's like a line of people down the center and like around the corner, and they're all bundled up. It's like 20 degrees, 18 degrees. Some of them been camping there for the day before. Wow. Yeah, it's a cool feeling to be able to bring joy to some of those people. Some of them had to go home because we didn't have what they wanted. But yeah, man, it's a fantastic thing. I don't know.
I miss the interaction with new people.
Yeah.
If I had to boil it down, because I was in retail for a long time, I miss there was things about it that I enjoyed, but I really miss the person coming in and being able to just communicate and build connections. with regular customers, who come in frequently and who have questions, and being able to solve those issues and find a way to bring more joy or better joy, or
Yeah. That
maybe
part
they
is
don't
harder
know.
now. That part is harder. And
Is
so
it?
that would be harder for you. Yeah, and the COVID thing has made things different, but I think for the most part, again, I'm going to try and spin it positive. It's been people have taken it pretty well. They are a little more patient. They're a little more expressive. They're more apt to give you thanks and appreciation for the job that you're doing. There's always going to be bad apples that are going to ruin any bunch, right? But
Right.
uh, for the most part, man, I've had a really great experience with the let's be kind to one another side of it. And people come in and they're more expressive with their eyes, and they try so hard to inflect in their voice, and it's kind of
Right.
comical because we're all trying to speak through masks and also
Right.
trying to speak through like this plexiglass, and no one can understand one another. No one can hear you. You can't hear them. It's but it's fun. It's still
But they're
good, man.
doing it. I mean, the
Doing
way
it.
you're saying it, it sounds like that's something I think that um, both Brando and I don't have the exposure to the numbers of individuals, or customers, or even small groups, crowds, like
Yeah,
you
be
said, like
grateful.
mine.
I'll probably catch it and die. So just be
And I
glad.
don't miss it.
That's what I was getting to. No, I was just, but I'm saying, like, you sound like you're seeing. I mean, I get that feeling that you're telling me, that there are there are more people than not are out there doing and trying to do it right.
I would say that's the case, at least where we are. In Colorado, I don't know how things are. You guys were talking earlier about doing some Thanksgiving shopping, and there's people not wearing masks up here. Anywhere I go, people are wearing masks. I
But are they
don't.
wearing them correctly?
I would say 87.6% are wearing them correctly, maybe more.
That's some math right
I
there.
want to say it's about 75% here.
Really, I mean, I get it in my store, and they wear it like the chin diaper, or it's like coming down off their nose, and I'm like, "Hey, man, looks like your mask is a little loose. Do you want a new one?"
Oh, that's brilliant.
And
Hey
then
man, your dick is hanging out. Pull it up
you're
a little bit. Help me
yeah.
help you.
Let me help you with that.
I
I've
can't.
been.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mitch.
I was gonna say I've been written up for that before, so I can't with that. The dick is out thing.
I can't say enough good things about my community. I think
Good.
we've done really well. I think, though, uh, without jumping right back into it, I really think that the community here, at least in the small area that I'm in New Orleans, and what I've seen, the two things I've said, the thing I've said before is they're sort of used to getting through a tough situation and sort of following the rules to do so. I think that pays its dividends here. I do think people are tired in general,
Yeah.
and a little fatigued, and I can see signs of that, but overall pretty good. I mean, I haven't had the same experience that Brando described, where I went to the store and see a bunch of people not wearing masks. I also went out for a short run
Mhm.
on day before Thanksgiving, and again, I still, for the most part, saw people wearing their masks, and I don't really know if it's me, but when I do see someone that's got it down or not wearing them, I just make eye contact, not in any sinister way, but when I do make eye contact, I can almost always see them pulling their mask out.
You
Like,
know
as
what?
soon as they
Yeah.
know somebody's looking at them, they kind of want to pull it up, and they're acknowledging it, and that, I think it says that they're aware of it, and they're just kind of like, I'm okay with that, right? Like, if it slipped down and they sort of weren't paying attention, okay, I get it. At least it's not something defiant, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like for example, like I would say overwhelmingly, well over the 99% range, when I've offered someone a mask because they came in without it, they are immediately uh, apologetic. They're like kind of scrambling, like checking for their keys, kind of thing, like looking for their mask, or they go, "Oh,
Right.
oh, oh, I left it outside," or they're like, "Oh, they're very grateful." I mean, I think most people they want to do right by everybody else. I mean, I got to believe that. I'm
I love
hoping.
that. I think Brando needed to hear that. I needed to hear it too. I think everybody needed to hear that. That's really positive and uplifting. I like the team getting together and
Mhm.
doing I
I really
really do.
liked your analogy of the A team.
Yeah.
I like the thought there. I was thinking more Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay. So how do you defer? Like, who votes
Loyalist
for
was
who?
a fucking commie.
Legolas?
I don't know. I got nothing. I don't know.
Well, you know those elves.
I mean,
Can't trust those elves.
The kingdom of man, though, is definitely not. Oh,
They're gonna those damn elves. They're just gonna raise your taxes.
yeah.
They're going to see the elves are going to seize the means of production.
They're trying to stop the industrialization of the. They're trying to. Yeah, that's funny. Wow, I hadn't even thought about that.
Okay, so let's just say that real quick. We're just since we're already on this bent, if you're going by Lord of the Rings, elves, dwarves, man, the Nazgul, the orcs. Who has the best mask? It's gotta be the elves.
I don't know, but Elrond is totally George Soros.
Oh, okay. Now you're really going deep.
That's went deep. I didn't give it nearly that much thought. I was just thinking about how to survive, to prosper, you have to have a well-balanced team. Your D&D team, whether that's Lord of the Rings, you're actually playing, you have to have a good party. Mm-hmm. And as a country, it takes all kinds. And so for me, I think that, Charlie, you were hitting on something that for me means a lot. Like, we got to find some place where we all get, we're not all going to agree perfectly, but we all have like a common interest. Really, at the end of the day, everyone wants the same things. It's just,
I think so too. Yeah, and I think it just takes discussion. I felt like the A team, when I thought about it, it cracked me up because it really fit that sort of character representation, right? I thought it was so funny to think of Hannibal as the old school conservative Republican and Murdoch is the crazy, like, QAnon conspiracy Republican. And of course, my mind goes straight to BA being, where, if BA has a mask, it says BLM on the front. And then Face is sort of this guy where I was like, how does is Face the super liberal? I don't think so. But maybe he's that middle ground blue dog Democrat or left leaning I don't know. And it just, I think that whole line of thinking came from like referencing all these court cases that have just been knocked down one after the other.
Yeah.
One of the things that made me feel good in a weird way about just everything was that it's not as if all of these things are being thrown out to these super liberal judges,
activist judges.
Well, it just made me feel good about the law being something that means something, that the court is a place where you can't just say anything clearly. And a lot of these guys are old school Hannibals. They're old school conservative judges that are saying these things are ridiculous. There's nothing here. There's no evidence. That gave me a weird confidence, and it made me start thinking of, like, here's the A team, right? In all this noise and volume and craziness, here's this, like, system that's working. And that's not a lot of what you're hearing about. And I think it's, that's just me though, right? As Americans, I feel like that's something we should kind of be proud of, that the at this point, that top tier system of court of law and judges making, rulings based on the rule of law and very clearly trying to get to truth and reality. It's worked. And a lot of them are from, they're conservative Republicans, and I don't normally have many reasons to agree with a lot of conservative Republicans these days, but in this case, I thought it was worth acknowledging, and it just made me think of the A team. I just couldn't help but think of the theme song and the van and the four of them having to come together, even when they didn't like each other. And Hannibal's crazy ass is the only one that can fly that helicopter. It's like,
yeah,
it all seemed to feel like, okay, that's what we need to remember. We all need each other. We all need each other to make things work.
Yeah.
So where does drunk Uncle Rudy fit in with the A team?
Well, he's clearly the guy they're gonna capture in a moment of panic, and he's the bad guy. He's obviously the bad guy henchman. Is basically what you boil down to. But
so
moving on from that, I think. What'd you say, Mitch?
Before the final boss.
Yeah, he's the guy before the final boss. He's Revolver Ocelot.
No, you can't make that comparison. I've played all of the Metal Gear games, and Revolver was actually good at his job.
But moving on from that, Mitch, there's a reason other than talking about your Thanksgiving that you're here. We've been doing this now for what, 6 weeks? Really?
Yes,
maybe 2 months.
6 weeks. I think the first episode's published mid-October, and to date, we still don't have Instapot sponsoring us. And I think Brando has a problem with that. I think Brando makes a good case. Like,
I mean, you've mentioned it a few times, Brando. I mean,
it's the ultimate bachelor's kitchen accessory.
Instapot. So if Brando, if your kitchen, if you're
even have their rice cooker,
one item.
See, there you go.
So if you're picking one item, your item's Instapot. Mine's going to be sous vide immersion cooker. Mitch, what's yours?
One kitchen utensil, like one
thing that you have to have. If you had to put it in there, what would it be? Your grill.
Does the griddle count?
Yes.
Yeah.
My outdoor griddle. Like, I gotta have.
You got one of those flat tops?
Oh, dude, yeah, you gotta have it. Gotta have it.
We really gotta come visit you.
Yeah, we do. Men can cook. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
well,
that's my thing.
I want to just kind of just check in, and I wanted it to be a good way of kind of asking, like, where we are, where you think we're going, what new developments you have. I mean,
well, this is great. Go ahead.
Please go ahead. No, I'm giving you the floor.
The State of the Red Room Union.
State of the Union. You know what's fun is because I get to play coy a little bit and get to do kind of we've got great things coming up. I can't talk about it all right now. I can't give you all the details, but there's really exciting stuff happening. But yeah, so what is the question? Because there's so much I can talk about and so much I can't. And
okay, let me do a better job of setting
it up. And you got to tell me the real details after this, because Charlie tried to explain it to me, but I was really high at the time and nothing sank in.
You're still a noob.
Okay, so I locked you out of that meeting where we were kind of introducing some of our new.
Yeah, it's because I clear out my Discord like private message things every now and then. So I must have backed out of the group chat that you invited everybody to.
Okay.
Oh,
okay. You know what? I like that, man. Taking responsibility, even though I'm sure it was my fault.
No. It literally was my fault. I do the same thing at work with like Skype messages and crap.
All right.
It's his fault. No, it's his fault. Okay, so let me set up the question better then. Okay.
Yeah.
Brevity Box is but one podcast that is brought to you by the Ruminations Radio Network.
Mm-hmm.
And Ruminations Radio Network is a collaboration of other podcasts. And as we have gotten into producing those, you have produced those and put them out with us. Some things have come up, opportunities. And I kind of, being that you're sort of the center of it, I think it's fair to say, like, a good question would be, how do you feel it's gone in 6 weeks? Let's start there.
Yeah.
Being that we're only in 6 weeks, is the network where you want it to be? Is it more than you expected? Are the obstacles different than what you thought might be down the line? Like, that's a good place to start.
It's more than I expected. In 6 weeks in, I mean, when we started, it was really just this kind of like vision, which, again, I will, again, on your podcast, make sure to point out that you were a big part of that push and inspiration to move forward with that. Because when I started the first podcast, it was an idea to have multiple versions and different thematics running throughout. But in the end, it was about friends telling stories and talking about things that matter to us and getting philosophical and these things. And by doing this endeavor was really just an extension of that, and wanting to make sure that the people that I admired or really enjoyed, whose company I enjoyed, I wanted to give people another opportunity, another voice, another place to do that. Plus, I was selfishly just wanting to write intro songs. That's really
that's you know what, you're doing amazing. I mean, they're really good.
I mean, I think I don't remember which podcast I mentioned it on, but one of them I did. It was like when I was in high school. I only ran for high school, like for office, so that my band could play the dances. You know, I was like, oh, if I run for student body president, I can have my band play all the homecoming dances or whatever dances we had to put on. So in a way, doing this was also just like another great excuse for me to write some more music. And so this endeavor, man, has already become more than I possibly even imagined it could. And I'm just thrilled to pieces, man. I'm so excited. So excited.
I can relate to that, wanting to get out there to get the opportunity to have your band. For me, it was, I was a DJ in high school. So it was like I wanted to get out and be a part of any activity just to kind of leverage some opportunity to be the DJ at any house party or anything. And I think the height of it for me in high school was I got to DJ a pep rally for homecoming.
Yes.
So I was like, that, I get where you're coming from with that. I totally relate to that. I think that's funny that we're both that way.
The first taste is free. You know, it's like,
right.
You know, you got to get your product out there. And this is turned into something awesome. Like the guys, all you guys who are putting out content all have like an individual voice and a different sound and a different idea of what you want to do. And I just feel blessed. I mean, I hope that word doesn't offend anyone, but I mean, I can't think of another.
I'm offended.
Triggered.
Okay, well, I feel lucky. What's that, Brando?
I'm triggered.
Church and I feel lucky to have such an incredible group of friends that want to go on this journey, man, because it's been a blast so far. I mean, 6 weeks, and it's really coming together, like as far as the organization and, you know, everyone working together and getting each other's backs, and it's opened up some cool new doors.
Well, and I think for you know, those of you listening that maybe aren't aware, Mitch has had Ruminations from the Red Room podcast for years and is creative with topics and guests and things that it was always fun to be a guest on Red Room. And I don't think I would have never guessed we would have gotten to this place. It's exciting. And I think seeing the way that you're managing it and dealing with it's been pretty cool, man. I'm surprised, you know, with everything. In fact, I got to get you to gush further about your recent recording, because that's one that when we did our first episode and we were going through what each podcast kind of was approaching, one of the ones that we both were excited about was Ruminations of a 6-Button Samurai, which one of the coolest names ever. And last night, was that the first recording?
Yeah, we recorded our episode 0, and for the future, something that people look forward to, your listeners can look forward to, maybe as a bonus episode, maybe something that we pitch out there to the ruminators or the roommates, as it were. I still have that recording of that first meeting where everyone gave their pitch of each podcast. Man, yeah,
that's cool.
So I think we're going to have to publish that someday. But yeah, last night we recorded episode 0 of Ruminations of a 6-Button Samurai. And originally it was supposed to be a little give and take, but I was so enthralled listening to the samurai give his story from basically age 4 or 5 up until I think 12. And I couldn't even speak. I just sat there muted, laughing. I mean, there were moments where I felt like very like welled up. It was an awesome experience. I'm excited for him to publish it. I can't wait for everything to come together and get more of those out. So yeah, I'm going to gush. It was some great stuff. And I felt really, again, sorry, Brando, I felt blessed that he would share that with us.
You get a pass on that one.
And then he would share those things. So I think everyone should be really excited and look forward to that one as well. It's very personal. And I think a lot of people are going to be able to identify with it.
You've been listening to the Brevity Box, brought to you by Ruminations Radio Network. If you like this cast or want to find some other great topics, join me, Optimist, on the Retro Futurist Culture podcast for great discussions on all things retro future. Check it out at ruminationsradionetwork.com.
So remind the audience here the concept for Ruminations of a Six-Button Samurai. It sounds, if you're a gamer, you might interject your own meaning of what that title means. I did before I heard the pitch and the concept, and the pitch and concept is, I mean, it's beautiful. It's a really awesome thought. But I thought, now that you have listened to it, how would you, if you can, how would you summate that? Like, how would you say about what that content is? What's the show about?
The show is about how many people view music and movies, the soundtrack of our lives, those kinds of things that oftentimes we neglect to credit the place that gaming might play if you are a gamer, or if you don't know a gamer, that those things play in your life, and the way that they've taught you and raised you, or given you the tools to deal with adversity, and that have colored and been the background for all that you've become. Like, for me, yes, I know the man that he became. So getting a chance to hear these stories of his youth only, for me, painted a more clear picture of how he became this man. And for anyone listening, if they, they're not going to know the end result, the man that I know today, that I'm lucky enough to call friend, they will get to go on this journey, of this formative journey that is set against the backdrop of gaming and arcades, and how this contributed or informed this human being. And no punches pulled, just honesty, and it's beautiful. It was great.
The kind of catalyst that games and the environment and atmosphere around games played.
Yeah.
I'm so connected to that in so many ways that I don't think about all the time. And to be reminded of it, even when it was during that same pitch meeting that we're talking about. I mean, I remember after that, I talked to my sister about, and she's not a gamer, but she immediately connected to the concept and remembered us in the 80s playing Indiana Jones on the Atari 2600, like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Wow,
and having to find, like, how we were working on it together and trying to solve the puzzles and get everything done. And and then just to think about the atmosphere of an arcade, that I spent a lot of time in an arcade. I was a latchkey kid, like a lot of kids were in the 80s. And, I mean, everything sort of centered around it. Even stories from when it was just me and my mom. My mom was a single parent. And the only thing we could do when we lived in Florida was on the weekends, we would go and see like 2 movies back to back. And I would look forward to just the movies, but in between, I would always have like 30 minutes to go and drop, $5 into Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Warrior Needs Food. And I would just be, I love those things. I met a lot of friends that way. And just, I think it's a great concept. And it was great to hear you gush over it.
Sorry, did I go on too much?
No, made me excited. I've been waiting. I'm waiting to hear the first episode, and it sort of stands to what I was getting at with the whole project as in general. In 6 weeks, it really seems like we're at like we didn't know where we could go, I guess, or I didn't. I think you probably knew better than me, and where we're at now. I mean, are there? It just seems like it's moving along smoothly, and we're getting some. Am I wrong in saying that there's some recognition there that's been very? You have to have been satisfied with a little of the feedback that you've gotten from random people.
Well, the thing is that we never set a ceiling on it, and we never set like any kind of limitations. We didn't set any kind of expectation as far as global domination either. So it was like it was like
this for yourself, man.
No, waiting for that. I've changed my mind now. Now I will accept nothing less than global domination. If don't just win, dominate. That's my new saying.
We need to make you a football fan. It's really where it's going now.
Not going to happen, but thanks for trying.
Well, but so you feel like, I mean, like what developments have occurred that you are able to share with us?
No, I can share a lot because it's actually kind of like some official stuff happening now. But what I mean to say is that we didn't have like a preset, like we want to have this many listeners or subscribers and we want to do this, or I think the real goal was already achieved in the fact that we were expressing and that we were getting to create and that we were becoming a team. And what's been interesting in that, by doing that, by creating this unified front, it put us in a position where we had something to offer. We had something to offer other people, or other, well, we'll put it out on Front Street. There's this great site that I have been following for 3 years. Strangely enough, the time that Ruminations from the Red Room formed, it was formed right at the time David Lynch's Twin Peaks: The Return was coming out. And that was the inspiration for the cast. I was like, you know what? We should do a podcast about The Return. I've been waiting 25 years for this shit. I'm going to do a podcast finally, and that'll be the inspiration for it. That's kind of the catalyst that kicked it into gear, but it'll be a lot of other things. And that's why we called it Ruminations from the Red Room. And I'm taking the long road to get to your
No, it's good. I like it.
So that was the idea. It was because of that, we were going to do reviews on the episodes as they came out, but also talk about just the things that came to mind, just having fun, telling stories. So anyway, this site 25 years later, 25YL, comes out same time. Again, 25 years later, it's inspired by The Return. And this guy, Andrew Grievous, he started this website. It was just him. He was playing with his kid one night as The Return was about to come out, decided he wanted to write an essay on Twin Peaks. The essay became more, and he began this website that has really grown now to have hundreds of contributors around the globe. And they have built something really awesome. He's built something awesome. And I really loved this website. So I started messaging Andrew, hey man, I would love to have you on the podcast. I would love to collaborate in some way. Let's see what we can do. And we went back and forth for a little while. And then as fate would have it, they needed someone to do their audio work for their audio articles that they're publishing on Patreon. They've got a great community with Patreon. They've got a great connection with their social media people. And so we got to talking, and beyond just collaboration, he wanted me to go ahead and start working on their audio articles, which I was very flattered. And the reason that they did that, I think, is because he sent out some of his guys, some of his editors for his different departments. Again, in 3 years, he's grown that site from this little site to this huge thing where they've got all these people all over the place. And it's just really impressive.
And several sites too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a very interesting story from what you've shared with me.
Yeah. And 3 sites right now that are just kind of blowing up. And anyway, yeah, so it was great. It was a great conversation. I've started publishing their audio articles, doing the engineering and producing on those. And
you're in there now. You're doing that part of it, and yes, we're in bed together, as is the parlance of our time.
Yeah. So we are, and this week we should be finalizing our collaboration deal on how we're going to work in the Ruminations Radio Network onto their websites, so that our sites, our casts are going to be published or at least promoted rather on their sites. I don't know exactly how. Again, we're still working out the details how we're going to work that out, but it was because of the work you guys are doing, because he sends people out to listen. He's like, hey man, I had my guys go listen and they like the content you guys are putting out. It sounds like you guys know what you're doing. He wanted like a really big integration. But of course, we're still young. We're still little. We're going to kind of go slow.
and fiercely independent.
But yeah, and I'm just so excited, man. I never expected that because, let's be honest, to a degree, these were people that I was kind of looking up to, and like the model that they had set. And So it was really, really flattering to be invited to be a part of their organization and kind of contribute in a new way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited about it, and I can already see that in some of the discussions we've had. It seems like I think if you and I were sitting in a room and a third party came in and overheard us talking about this and was just curious and were to pose the question, when do you think you're going to be at a place where you'll be thinking about growing or thinking about adding or thinking about, I don't think either one of us would have said, I don't know, about 6 weeks. I don't think that would have been the case in any way.
No, it's really crazy. It's neat. It's fun. It's a thrill, man. I'm just stoked. It's intimidating though. I mean, I have horrible imposter syndrome, which to me is not imposter syndrome. It's called reality. It's intimidating. There's a lot, and there's quite a workload, and you've already been out there recruiting and developing new talent and bringing a new podcast in. I've got another one that's about to pitch me this week. We'll see.
Cool. Anything you could share with us, or we're still on hold on that?
No, so I sent you those texts earlier or something. Yes. It's just a buddy of mine that's out in California. If nothing else, I think we've got ourselves a new audio editor. We'll also lighten my load because, it's like a 1-to-2 ratio for time wise when it comes to the editing process and things. Sometimes it's smoother than others, but if you record like an hour and a half, I'm going to be editing that for 3 hours.
3 hours, yeah.
Yeah. So with 5 podcasts plus, I'll be honest, I mean, as much as I'm loving this role and as much as I'm having fun doing that, and I wanted to just do that, I still don't have enough time to write the new music that I want to write for new episodes, or so that we can change out stuff and do promos with different music. And I want to get back into the Red Room. I've got things I want to say too. So
you need to.
Yeah, it's so invigorating. And going back to the whole retail thing, I think it's really saved my life these last 6 weeks to a month. I don't know that I could have done it without this. This has given me new life.
Well, Mitch, let me say you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I appreciate everything you and Brando do.
No, man, it's been great for us. I think look, I'm very excited and grateful, and I'm almost annoyingly team rah. I'm like, what can I do? Put me in play. I'm ready to jump in wherever I can. I'm excited about where we're going. So let's use the same time frame as a way to kind of mark out the question for the future. So we're 6 weeks in. Where do you, let's say New Year, just after the New Year, what are your goals for that? Like you said, we're bringing in new talent. I think we've got some great ideas. I think getting another editor. I mean, these are things of significant growth.
Yeah.
And so my first question would be, where do you see the Ruminations Radio Network in 6 weeks?
Well, I would like.
I don't know if a good answer. You're not on the spot for anything, man.
I would love to see. There's a couple things that I would want the most, and I'm hoping Andrew and his team get a chance to listen to this, and I'm going to post it on Slack for them to check out.
Cool.
in a very self, promotional kind of way. It's like, hey guys, check this out. There's a couple things I would love. On a personal note, I would love to get one of my written articles posted on their site. They've got this great editor who's working on building up their music department, and I would love to get something of mine published from them, music-wise, which I also want to do as an individual, like personal podcast, kind of an audio article, and that's just personal. Cool. For the Ruminations Radio Network, I would love to see us add 3 new podcasts.
Ooh.
Which is pretty ambitious, I know. And I would like to see not only those like promoted on their site, but I would like to, and this might be, again, talking out of school a little bit ahead of the game, I would like to see at least one of those be from the 25 Years Later guys. Like I've already talked to a couple of them, And these guys are talented, they're intelligent, they're passionate, they're fans. And I would love to get some of those guys on the network doing a cast. You know, that later might be given right back to them, but to get an exclusive cast from them, or at least even get them guesting, because all of the casts right now on Ruminations Radio Network have something in common with the different sites that Andrew has going on. So there's some of their writers and editors could guest on our network, and it would be glorious.
I'm ready. Tell me who to contact. I'll be happy to have them on.
Oh, that's the next thing. That's going to be part of the things I talked to him about this week. So I wanted to, clear it with him before I go out there and start recruiting guests, or at least like, hey man, do you mind if one of my guys contacts you about possibly having you on their show? Because there's some that would make, I think, fantastic guests. So that's what I'd like to see. I mean, I don't know if that's kind of like humble, like, goals to have by the new year. Add 3 podcasts, get some 25 years later folks on here, and then get my. I've got a few of them that I've written, and I've just never gotten around to recording them. I really would love to get those published.
Well, and I think those are good, attainable.
Oh, and the coffee mug. I want the first coffee mug.
Oh man,
are we going to do coffee mug first or a T-shirt?
Coffee mug.
Coffee mug. We gotta do coffee mug.
Okay.
I think that's a great way. I think it's a good Christmas gift idea. This Ruminations Radio Network coffee mugs would be great.
So I got to distribute those to the team, to everybody, to all the hosts.
Sure, well, we can figure it out together.
Together.
Now, I think that's what's great about it, man. You've put together a good team. I've said this to other people, and I think I've said it maybe in some way to you. But I'm one of the things that I'm really proud of personally is the friendships that I built in my life, and the fact that I'm still very close to a great number of people that I don't just, they're not just people I'm kind of like. I mean, they're people I respect, and I seek their counsel and advice on things, and I really want to put myself out there for them to be the same. And I think often it's one of those vacant, like I don't see that many people doing that. And you hear those kinds of old adages, that if you're in your 40s and you have, 2 good friends, you're really doing good. And most of the time, yeah, I've heard this several times. And so for me, it makes me feel very,
dude, we're crushing it.
Wealthy. Right. No, and look, that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? Is that, it's one of those things that I noticed about you a long time ago. And of course we have we've covered our history, and I've been around talking to you a few times, but you have a really interesting group, a bigger group than your average person of good friends who, same thing. They rely on you. They kind of go in. Well, look at the team you put together. That's just my perspective.
Okay.
Is that these guys are there because of your connection with them. Same thing with me. And by obviously Brando's here, a friend of mine I've had for a long time. And I think it speaks to that. I think that this whole thing is started by those relationships and the team you put together, and I know you say you have imposter syndrome, and you and I have that tug of war where I'm like, you're not an imposter. And you're like, I might be an imposter. Like, no,
I might be.
And we go back and forth about that, but it's, I think that's draws interest. I mean, it's drawn interest from 25YL, and it's drawn interest from people who want to be collaborators or involved, and kind of like, those scouts that were sent out to check us out. We seem to have a pretty good feedback. I think
I think it was all yours and Brando's promo spots that really did it.
We got to do some more of those. I got a really good one.
Yeah, we really do.
Red Rum podcast in the back of my head.
Oh, it'd be really nice. It'd be really nice. So our mugs in the future, we're going to get more casts in. It sounds joy, man. It's just been a joy, and it sounds like it's brought a lot of joy to you. You saying it saved your life is is big, and I'd love to dive into that more, but I feel like that's an overtime interview. That's when we're going to be getting into some deep content.
Yeah.
Exciting. I'm glad you did it. I'm glad we did it.
I'm glad we did it too.
On.
I mean, it's been a blast. Still continues to be a blast. And they say if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. But I mean, I've spent a lot of years doing something I liked but did not love, and this is something I love. I've gotten a couple messages from some of the folks over at 25YL. Late nights or like kind of out of the blue, and they're like, "Hey, I'm really sorry to bother you with this right now, but this question or that." And I'm like, "Look, it is no bother, because this idea, this being the creative side of things, it's my raison d'être."
Thank you for going French for me, sir.
I was going French for you, bro. I was going French for you.
I love that. I know it drives Brando nuts. Look, yeah. I feel like I'm so on a high, just being able to the ability to have something in your head, put it out there, create it, and then send it out to whoever, maybe no one, maybe one person.
I've got the analytics. It's more than one person.
Well, I'm trying to be a little humble here, sir.
Well, I mean, that's 8. We have what, like 8 hosts total or something like that. So I mean, it's like, it's like 9 people listening.
So good, 9, maybe 10. No, it's just really been. I'm in love with it too. I mean, it's hands down been great. I was inspired when I sent the network a message from me saying I don't know where I read it, and I don't know exactly who said it, but I fell in love with the statement that a salary is the bribe they offer you to give up on your dreams.
Yeah.
And all I could think about was how grateful I was that this group of people was defying that. We're out there really doing what we've been, in some ways, what we've been dreaming about. And you can say that you can feel that you're an imposter about whatever you want to. That's your business. But if it weren't for you, bro, we would not be able to. We wouldn't be doing that like this. And you trailblazed away, and it's going really amazingly. And that's just hearing about where we've come in a short period of time and where we are likely to go. I'm looking forward to the coffee mug.
Yeah, coffee mug.
I really am. I really am, Mitch. I think that's probably a good place to cap off this episode. I think we've covered where we wanted to go.
I was just trying to think of the different possible plays on my name, because I got that as a kid constantly.
Oh man, still it's great merch.
It's great.
You got to know I'd wear that shirt, man.
The problem is there's a certain Mitch that kind of gave all of us Mitches a bad name recently. I don't want to get into politics right now. That's your guys' thing.
No,
but I mean, really screwed up the good Mitch name. Really bummed me out, because there's not a lot of us rolling around in the first place, and then for that guy to really fucking up.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the thing that sets you apart is you don't look like a fucking turtle.
Yeah, I would say this much. Okay, you're not supposed to say Voldemort's name.
Okay,
and we won't do that here. So I think that's fair. No, man. As far as I know, you're the only Mitch. You're the only Mitch.
You're the only Mitch in my heart.
Oh, thanks, man. That means a lot. I wish you guys could be here. I wish we could all join, all get together. Like, I miss seeing your faces live and in person. Here's to hoping that happens.
It's gonna happen soon, man.
I hope it happens
sooner than you think.
Yeah, I know. We're getting close. It's getting close again. So I can't wait to get everyone together in one big room and celebrate what we've done so far. I mean, even this is good enough. Like, if it were to go more, then hey, all the more reason to celebrate. But I can't wait to see you guys again.
I gotta say, on my parting note for this is going to be this: in a really the most challenging year on multiple levels for all people who are American. This has been the best part of it, for me personally, and to be part of a collaboration, to be part of something bigger than just myself, man, this has been a big deal for the year. And we got a month left, and then we're into a new year, and I think things start getting way better. And like I said, I hope we do come together. I hope we go more A team.
Yeah, man. Rumination Expo 21.
Oh, dude, that would yeah, let's make that happen. I'm all for it. That would be awesome. Well, thanks, Mitch.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us again. Thanks for putting up with us talking over each other. We'll do another check-in in 6 weeks and see how we've done.
Oh, Christ.
And then kind of go from there. For everybody who's listening, don't forget to subscribe and like us and rate us and all that jazz. Brando, we got anything to add there?
Nah, you pretty much covered it.
Just remember that
check out some other programs on the Ruminations Radio Network.
That's right. Don't forget to check out all of our sister and brother podcasts that are on the Ruminations Radio Network at ruminationsradionetwork.com. You can see what we've put together, and there's a lot to enjoy and a lot of things to just get excited about. Put us in your ears. Let us take some time away from you and get a smile on your face, I think. Mitch, thanks again for joining us. Thanks everybody for listening to Brevity Box. I hope you guys have a really good rest of your week. We'll talk to you again soon. This has been a product of the Ruminations Radio Network.
We know you've been scared watching horror movies by yourself. Well, now you don't have to. Hang out with Ruminations of Red Rum, all things horror from movies to the latest spooky games we've played. Come hang out. But hurry, the killer's behind you!